U.S. farmer sentiment declined slightly in December. Purdue University's CME Group Ag Economy Barometer Index fell to 136, down 3 points from November. The decline was driven by a pullback in farmers' long-term outlook, with the futures expectations index falling 4 points to 140. Agricultural trade remains a key concern, as 19% of respondents said they are uncertain about how tariff policy will affect the agricultural economy in the long run. The outlook for soybean exports is particularly negative, with 84% of respondents concerned or very concerned about rising competition from Brazil. With all of that being said, 75% of respondents still believe the U.S. is headed in the right direction, the highest percentage on record since the question was first asked back in July.
As we typically do, we'll run through a few of the more interesting slides from the report. Over the next 5 years, do you think U.S. soybean exports are more likely to increase, decrease, or remain about the same? 48% of respondents said increase, which I find hard to believe. That's a very optimistic view given everything that we've told you about Brazil and otherwise. How concerned are you about the competitiveness of U.S. soybean exports with Brazil's exports? These 15% of people who are not concerned need to be kicked out of the survey. They have no idea what they're talking about. If you're not concerned about Brazil eating our lunch for us as it relates to soybean exports, you need to crawl out from under the rock you've been living under. I mean, they need to survey different and perhaps more aware people. Do you expect the increased use of tariffs by the United States to strengthen or weaken the U.S. ag economy in the long run? 54% believe that the tariffs will strengthen the economy. So this, again, is, as we alluded to, I think last month, this is a sign that the farmer, who, generally speaking, and I'm not saying you in particular who's watching, the farmer in particular is seen to be a Trump voter in general, or the majority. They're kind of sticking by their guy here. What would you say? Would you say things in the U.S. today are generally headed in the right direction or on the wrong track? 75% say right direction. So again, I think the farmer kind of sticking to his guns here as far as the Trump support goes.
You're right, Joe. They are all Trumpers. And it also appears they're interviewing the exact same people, considering the chart never changes. And as they noted, there was a decent percent that said they didn't know how it would turn out, meaning they don't even know how it works. Maybe they should watch this channel and find out. Maybe we revisit that fun chart we always check up on macrotrends.com of long-term commodity prices. Corn prices, long-term. Let's see here. Look at the year Donald Trump was elected down in here. And let's take a look at those prices there. Now, I know that's not all his fault. Federal Reserve policy, everything else, as we talk about on this channel all the time. So as my subscriber count bounces up and down because people that don't hear something that they want to be justified immediately get pissed off and run. But right in there is where it kind of all went to shit. This right here is the Black Sea and the OPEC 2020 deal. Otherwise, this would just be more of the same. But why are we right back here again? Gee, why is there a giant freaking bar right there? It just never changes. Huh. Funny. Pretty damn ironic that these optimists are finally to the point, after enough bad years of losses, that farmland shock. Georgia farmer drops 3,000 acres of ground, warns of unplanted ground in 26. Right on an AgWeb article. Look it up for yourself. This guy says I have 6,000 acres. Notifying 12 of his landlords in a 3-week window. I can't speak to the rest economy. Cutting back and falling into chapter 12. Oh, you mean you guys planted until the bitter end? Where you couldn't get any more money? Let's take a look at the video. This is literally the videos that I posted just the other day. And old Bunderhead here, he was saying what?
Traders inside of America are starting to shut down operating lines going into 2026.
Ah, there we go. Not lending the money anymore, are they? Not lending the money. Not lending the money. Now let's go take a look at Brazil's arable land, farmable land. Oh, right there's about 71. Oh, we went completely straight up after we got on a fiat system. Oh, we went completely straight up again around the 80s when our dollar was super high priced. Okay, well here come that 90s boom. You know, we had some lower dollar, blah blah blah. You know, we had all these sales. Shit, here's about to, you know, here we go again. What part of it are you guys not getting on this channel and running away when somebody brings up the obvious? I mean, the obvious here is farmers have planted until the bitter end. They've planted to the point where it's so bad now that they're not even able to get the money to continue planting. Donald Trump fucked you. I mean, it's on every goddamn chart. The Federal Reserve fucked you. It's on every chart. The whole system's broken. And somehow, guys, still are convinced that they're going to win. And those optimism charts are obviously some of the dumbest fucking people on the face of the earth. Well, they must be farmers, because look at the shit I get on my, look at the shit that comes on this channel. They gotta be farmers. I mean, I don't know how to run my own business. And I obviously don't know how to study anything. So I'm just gonna run this bitch right up to the point where I can't run this bitch no more. Whereas every other industry would have said, no more, I'm done, time to park this until we get better prices. It's literally like watching people set themselves on fire with gasoline. But, you know, we're all a product of the markets and the environment we're in. And as much as the Trumpers like to call this United States a business, it's not. It's a society. So as one person's actions affect another, and on down the line. And as a disclaimer, which I should never have to add, but apparently I do, the fact you have to add disclaimers to your social media channel is just further evidence of how fucked up this country is. But did I ever mention Democrats? Did I ever say that was the alternative option? Did I ever say that that would be better? No, I didn't. I'm just simply pointing out the obvious and calling a spade here. Well, I did get some comments, and that's what I was hoping to get so that we could talk about things on this channel. This viewer wrote in, inflation is an increase in the money supply, not an increase in prices. Well, right there you screwed up, because yes, inflation is a measure of increase in prices. That's literally an inflation index, being the CPI, PPI, and several others. There is no index that just shows inflation in money supply. Yeah, you could say that money supply inflated. I mean, inflation's literally just to inflate, to increase. You know, you can inflate your car tire. If you want to measure inflation of money supply, you're more than welcome to measure inflation of money supply. But to measure inflation in the price change of goods is where your different indexes, such as the CPI, come out. And by the way, there is no direct correlation between money supply and the CPI, and that's exactly why you're seeing the CPI right now trend lower while the money supply is sitting at record highs, which was previously shown in other videos. For prices to rise, supply and demand still must be followed. Well, that's true. That's the basic fundamentals for any market. If you keep producing more and more of your product, then the consequences of increased money supply, the inflation, will not happen. That's literally the definition of more goods than there is money. That's correct. It does not increase in price. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say you've not been watching the whole entire series of videos in detail. In a normal free market, I mean, sure he means normal free market, when cost to produce exceed the price of products, sold products will stop producing, and that product supply will reduce and prices increase if there's a demand. And if you've been following this channel, I've been mentioning over and over, shortages with too much money. Farmers are not doing that. You also need to recognize the bushels per acre have increased. Not really. Here's your corn yield, national yields, just your every year they go through and they put a final number on it. I think we're about to be revised here in January, and by revised, I'm pretty sure that we're going to be revised lower. But anyway, this is just the USDA chart, and they call this gray line on this chart the trend line yield, which starts around 1993, and it's an average up through the center and shows the long-term growth. That's what they always base everything off of, their quote trend line. And what they really should be looking at is the 10-year average, which would go back here around 2014. And you can just see that this would be more like your 10-year average here at this end. And the 186 number I still think is going to get revised down. But anyway, if you look at this and you just pretty much just draw a line through and flatten it all out, take the highs and the lows out, it's pretty much flat. That's why the USDA should be looking at more of a 10-year than this trend line crap as a market manipulator, at least in my opinion. And if you're curious about that background noise, as many of these videos that get posted, that is my son. He likes to interrupt these videos as much as possible. But I'm quite okay with that. Now this is the velocity of money, velocity M2 money. Basically what that means is how fast money changes hands, how fast that the exchange can be done. So if I were to buy a used car off of you, and you would take that used car money and go buy something else, then the person that you bought something else off of spends that money themselves. That's pretty much how it gets measured in a very rough context. And you can see right around the pandemic here, it just stopped, slowed down. There was no buying, and then obviously we slingshotted right back out at a very rapid upswing, and that was a largely inflationary period. There was a lot of buying, and there was not very many goods. So again, you had the shortage of goods, and then you had a lot of money in the hands. So you bottomed out, where this chart might have went down like this otherwise, but you had a very rapid plunge followed by a very rapid upswing, and you can see now things are leveling back off. At some point you'll see another spike, and those spikes are a good indicator for maybe higher grain markets. You know, you can see right about the quantitative easing around 2010. You see how we shot up. There's a little uptrend right there. Here's an uptrend right around 04 or so. You know, you can pretty much just kind of calculate, just looking at this, kind of where your corn markets will go. So getting back on your question here, if farmers are not doing that, you need to recognize bushels per acre has increased. Yeah, but then again, like I just showed, it's been pretty much flat. And you also have to recognize that there's a lot of acres of corn planted. So maybe the yield's flat, but there's just more acres total. And that's what I talk about when farmers are strapped with low margins. They're more inclined to want to go farm a road ditch out front. Hey, if I could farm that ditch, get an extra 200 bushels, I might just make it through this year. And while you're right, yes, on normal business, they would just quit producing the product. But who's going to take the hit? I mean, most farmers feel it's better to keep rolling the cash flow than it is just to say, okay, let's do the right thing and let's all unanimously quit, because what if you quit and the neighbor doesn't? That's how they keep people in competition with each other. Then you up in a currency war, which is what's discussed on this channel quite regularly. In a place like Brazil, it can produce cheaper just because they have cheaper wages and cheaper machinery, cheaper things, maybe no technology things or emission stuff, and maybe they're a little cheaper, maybe their ground's cheaper, and they can double crop. And then all of a sudden, they have a leg up advantage because they can devalue their currency over ours, and then become a preferred place to purchase from for places like China. And that's what's been happening, and it floods world and global markets. You have to remember the markets are global, not just domestic. And by the way, I never said we'll make it up on volume. You're literally just attempting to bushel your way out, so to speak. Your farmers were losing money the year prior, so why'd they go plant 100 million acres of corn? You tell me then. Kale prices are sky high, but I've yet seen any row crop farmers taking row crop acres out producing the pasture. Farmers don't even follow market signals. Yeah, and you're right. They're not going to take any row crop acres out to put it back in the pasture. Look at the average age of farmers. Every year they're getting older. What is it now, like 62 years old? Do you know a lot of people around retirement age that say, okay, this row crop's not working. I think I'm going to go ahead and go invest into 100 head of cattle. It takes quite a bit of work to get into. I got to go buy all the cattle, buy all the fencing, get the ground sowed down for a year straight to get grass established on it, and go without profit while that grass is growing. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's put out some sort of true social post that's popped the cattle bubble, and the market's now collapsing, and we're going to start importing beef. You're going to take that plan to a bank in a falling market situation and tell them that you're going to capitalize on something that you can't even hedge on because every day the price gets lower? Well, good luck with that. There you go. That's why guys aren't investing into cattle. If anything, more guys will be exiting cattle. I mean, if you were a cattle farmer yourself, you knew the market was going to be lower tomorrow than it is today, wouldn't you be just getting out and retiring? I mean, if you're old and maybe getting tired and you've seen this crap happen before and you say, well, enough's enough, fuck this, I'm done. And that's exactly what happens when you got governments and central banks that tamper in currency. That's what happens. They meddle in free markets. We don't have a free market. We got a manipulated market at all times, and the market reacts to the meddling. It's literally the definition of statism. And the last comment was farmers are supposed to be a backbone of the country. Most call themselves Christian, but none of them seem to follow God's laws concerning money. Don't even seem to know them. I don't even have a clue what the fuck you're talking about there, so I'm going to leave that one alone. I just think where you're overlooking at this is, like I say, you're looking at flat 10-year yields and you're looking at flat prices that don't really inflation adjust. That just leaves farmers further disconnected from goods and services. I mean, everything else inflates and the price of grain didn't. That's because of global fundamentals, currency and everything else. I mean, the total acres of corn planted in the United States don't exceed much more than they've ever had throughout recorded history. But at the same time, maybe where they're planting that has is you've had urban sprawl and things, but there still remains the exact same amount of acres, which means a lot of fringe acres, everything else are being planted. And they're very likely to keep being planted because people are desperate. Is it possible to get into farming today and be successful? This other viewer asks, and thank you for that question. And that's a bit of a loaded question and a tough one to answer because, you know, what are you looking at for parameters here? Are you saying that your grandpa left you a 300-acre farm, but maybe you didn't have any equipment, and, you know, in that environment, yeah, you probably could. Did you have a whole bunch of money somehow that you're able to put down on a farm? Yeah, maybe you could. I'm just assuming that you're probably meaning like walk into a bank with your shirt on your back and ask for a loan and come out the other side of the bank, you know, owning a farm and then being able to make it. And that might be a possibility if you had maybe like a predetermined niche market on a very small scale, you know, exclusive market to something, and could really captivate on it. But if you're asking, can I go out and buy 1,000-acre corn and soybean farms with owning nothing prior to and make it work? No, there's absolutely no way. And if you watch the last video, even at a 50% debt ratio, it's going to be extremely tough. And you're going to eat rice and beans. It's by industry, this agriculture ranks very, very low. Which again is why there's a lot of 60-year-old farmers in it that are not retiring. They're just kind of hanging in there stagnant. And there's nobody new entering. The reason, it's obvious that the reason that the age of the farmer is getting older is not because the old aren't quitting, it's because the new aren't entering. Let's analyze this video, and by the way, this was sent to me. I don't go seeking his channel.
Yesterday, I asked if you're content with the way agriculture is going in the United States. The current system we have, which seems to be getting more and more based off of row crop commodity production and then consolidation. So over what...
Oh, it's based on consolidation. Oh, geez. I thought the consolidation was a byproduct. Okay, continue.
Overwhelmingly, people aren't content. There's always going to be a few that are just haters, right? Or those that have a big enough ego that they think they're gonna be the one that is always gonna be the big.
You're right, Ryan. A lot of guys sit around their house, and I mean, I've had dinner with these guys. They just literally talk how they're gonna get every single acre in the whole county, and how they're just, I mean, they never once discussed that, hey, I just like to have a better personal life and compete with maybe the local attorney. I mean, as far as like spendable incomes, I mean, it's you're right. It's ego. It's ego. I mean, they have no clue that. I mean, I just didn't realize that most people. I mean, so the attorneys, do they do that too? Is it ego at the attorneys? Do they run the other attorney out of town? A new Escalade. Hey, I gotta get 5 more Escalades and 2 Maseratis. I gotta gear that other law firm and get him out of there. Oh wait. They didn't do that. Okay.
Yes. But even more disturbing is the amount of people that say it's messed up, but it's never going to change. Now, I disagree that we can't change this thing. I think if there's any chance, it's now. We do have an administration that seems to want to buck everything, you know?
Yeah, you're right.
The establishment.
But that's the guy you voted for, and if you've been watching this channel there, you need to wipe your face off, by the way, but kind of looks like you have some snot running down your face, but if you've been watching this channel, you realize he pretty much fucked you. Okay, continue.
So we are getting another bailout. They released it, and I mentioned that we're getting that bailout.
Okay.
I don't think this is going to be the last one.
No,
for
you're not.
The next year.
It's not going to be.
American agriculture has stuck its left arm in a wood chipper.
No, it didn't.
And the government's throwing band-aids on it.
No.
So basically what we've done is
The markets changed. People followed the money. That's what happened. They didn't go out and just willy-nilly just destroy themselves.
sawed off one of our limbs, and the government is putting band-aids on it. Fundamentally, things have to go different. We have to change the entire structure of agriculture. So this weekend,
You're right. We do need to change the fundamentals of agriculture, like the ethanol movement that they're going to push. Oh, wait, fucking Obama cut that back. God damn it. Okay, we got to get more China sales. Oh, fuck, they fucked that up too. God damn it. Okay, continue on.
we took out the dictator of Venezuela. And why does that affect commodities? Couple of things. Number one, they've got the largest oil reserves in the world. Number two, they're buddies with both Russia and China. So what does that have to do with agriculture? Well, do you think if we're going to have more cheap oil, we're going to get around E15 or the blending man?
You're right, Ryan. You're right. You're not. Because the guy that you are supporting, the guy that you love to somehow justify, has blatantly made it obvious he doesn't give a fuck about biofuels, renewables, or anything else. And he's made it completely clear that somehow he thinks by getting an oil reserve that you automatically get cheaper oil. I mean, the guy is totally oblivious to the fact that it costs a certain amount to extract that oil. And he's oblivious to the fact that a lot of small or oil producers here in the United States are small producers. And then if it's $60-some a barrel here, I mean, that's why we're seeing a decline rate. You guys follow this channel? Do you follow this channel, Ryan? Do you follow this channel, man? Have you been watching the decline rates in the wells? It's because it's below the cost to produce. That runs businesses off. Just like how this video started, how they're not going to plant some acres now.
And it's met. And before you make it political, the previous 3 administrations never did it. And next, we've been talking about a deal with China. Chinese demand was the whole problem why commodities were cheap this year, according to people. So we were going to get an agreement with China and everything will be fine. They're going to buy all our crops, and what are we going to do with it all? Do you think getting rid of their friend that had all that oil that they were getting is going to upset them a little? Maybe. So we're going to outproduce demand. And the more we continue on with the status quo of agriculture...
Oh, wait. I just caught that. So if you get rid of that oil, and you're saying it's going to be cheaper, but they got rid of it, and they can't have it now because we've destabilized the country down there. Wouldn't that be a shortage if you got rid of it and it's not there available? Wouldn't that drive the price up? God damn.
We're going to continue to do that, and we're going to need to get bailed out regularly. The answer is diversification.
Okay.
That was
Yeah,
the
good.
answer to get through
Into what?
the farm
Okay,
crisis.
into what?
It
Into
was
what?
the answer to get through the depression.
Okay, into what? Into what?
Don't have all your eggs
Into
in
what?
one basket.
What am I getting into?
And then
What am I getting into, Ryan? Come on, hurry up. What am I getting into? You ain't answered it yet. You're just bullshitting. What am I getting into, man? Wait. I'm going to diversify into another industry like trucking. Trucking, yes. I'm going to make my money with trucking. I'm going to lose the money farming. So the diversity didn't help. It just stopped the bleeding losses on the road crawl. Okay, I'm going to diversify into the 1990s emu thing. That didn't take off either. I'm going to get into some excavation work. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go put in drainage tile, like this guy supposedly claims. Wait, the farmers don't have any money, so they're not hiring anything. Okay, continue.
They started to say, you definitely want to put all your eggs in one basket. And not only that, when all your eggs are in that basket, you should swing it back and forth as you're carrying it. Like, we set ourselves right up for all of this. We're producing commodities to try and export to the rest of the world when we're not the low-cost producer anymore.
What you said is we overproduce. We overproduce. And we're not the low-cost producer. So why are we not the low-cost producer? God, you really need to watch this channel, man.
And we import stuff that we can grow here. Does that make
You're right, dude. You're right, dude. We import stuff that we can grow here. It's January, and I'm in Iowa. I want some fresh tomatoes. Anybody growing those right now? Anybody growing those? Anybody? Anybody growing those? Why ain't they growing? Why did they only come on once this year? I don't get it.
any sense? We need more beef in this country. So it
Hey,
would
you're
make
right. We
sense when they
could,
do a
God damn it, get
bailout
that beef
and
going.
subsidize, you would think they would
That beef. We need that beef. Get that border open down there.
definitely be throwing a lot of dollars towards forage production. Forage is
okay,
what
okay.
cattle eat. I don't recall seeing any hay and forage payments in there. Now there was a
Oh, you want a direct payment for your hay and forage? But why? Did your price on your hay and your forage go down? I don't know. Maybe like in Iowa where the price of hay and forage, meaning grass hay, and you get a burn up year, your price goes up, they automatically open up CRP and crush your price. It's almost like they're working against you.
pretty good payment for oats and some of the other small grains, which is good, which can be feed. But we continue to push the big commodities, the crop commodities.
No, you don't.
If
Not
you-
one bit. Dumb fuck. Maybe you need to go get on Google, which obviously your Google search bar doesn't work whatsoever. But if you were to search the tillable acres across the United States, the tillable acres has pretty much been about the same for years. Yeah, there was times it declined, but we're not sitting any higher now. We're in World War II. But we had a lot of technology since then, so we have better yields. And we also have a global market. We've encouraged Brazil to produce more due to currency wars.
If you look at, say, oats, barley, our cereal grains, and pulse crops, I don't know what else. I could probably go through them, but we import a lot of that stuff. Stuff that we could grow. We grow a lot of corn in North Dakota. Like, couldn't we go back to growing that stuff there?
So the guy you support literally puts a tweet out trying to pop the cattle bubble. And it's about cheap and not about America first whatsoever. Do you still support him?
But the farmers in North Dakota are like, well, we like growing corn because we get all the subsidies and everything set up for it.
No, they
And
didn't.
Then they're
Now, the reason they went to North Dakota and they started growing any corn there, if they did, and the reason they did is because the corn had a better return. It wasn't because there were subsidies, and probably the better return was when you had the $6 corn just a few years ago, a couple years ago, $5, $6 corn. That's going to encourage more corn production. And the bigger question is, why'd they get out of the other crops? Well, they got out of the other crops because they're chasing the fucking money trail. What part don't you get? People chase money trails. Oh, there's a custom lime service here and fertilizer service. There's pretty good money in that. You know what's going to happen the next year? There's going to be 3 more guys show up in the same business. People chase money trails.
zone seed pricing. So the guys in Illinois subsidize the price of seed up in North Dakota, and it's just a whole thing. How about we fix it? It makes no sense to subsidize production of commodities that we export and cause them to be grown in areas that they wouldn't traditionally be grown. We could fix
Does that include the rainforest? Okay, go on. It's this guy.
prices tomorrow if we would go back to growing things that we used to grow. And you aren't going to get more people into cattle by trying to bring the prices down, okay?
There, you
And
finally said
land
it.
costs are too high. Younger farmers are the ones that
Land
will
costs are
wanna
too high.
raise
Land
livestock.
costs are too high.
Well,
Land costs aren't too high.
if you
The price of your
can't
commodities is
get
never
that price
inflation
of land
adjusted. God, you need to
affordable
watch
for
this
them,
channel.
How are they supposed to buy it?
So get the price of land lower for them so they can buy it. Go into a bank, Ryan. I want to see you go into a bank when land's going from. I want to see it lose $100 a week, and I want you to go into a bank and get a loan. And I want you to do an appraisal on your farm when you're losing $100 an acre a week. Good luck, man. Good luck. Because banks, I'm sure, don't have any risk assessment at all. I'm sure a bank who's going to put this on their books, yeah, we love loaning on something that'll be cheaper in a couple weeks. Oh, wait. I'm going to follow his channel, and he can tell me the exact bottom and the date to go get that loan. Waiting.
It's one of the other things we need to address. We need to get the price of land down. And I say this as somebody who the vast majority of my net worth is tied up in farm real estate. Okay? And I'm telling you, it's too high.
You crash land values, you won't get a loan. It's that simple.
Which, if you know anything about, say, 50 years ago and some history, there's starting to become more and more parallels to that point. So, yeah.
If this guy wants to solve agriculture, there's two things he can do. Go back on a gold standard. Erase 50 years of technology, go back to organic style farming, creating a stable money supply and a limited supply of commodities. And he's not going to talk about that. He's not going to do that. He's probably not even going to practice it himself. He's just got a magical idea built on a very narrow-minded viewpoint, and usually it contradicts himself throughout the video. The guy's a fucking idiot. How many guys watching this channel went in for their annual operating note renewal, where you go in, you sit down with your banker, and you go over your balance sheets, your production history, and every other damn thing they want to know about your life, including how many rolls of toilet paper you use throughout the year to wipe your ass, and then they want to know what you're going to be doing next year, and then they're going to take all that information and form a balance sheet, which they plug into an algorithm which spits out a loan factor rate. And banks don't really give a damn about you. All they care about is themselves and their returns. I mean, that's literally how they make money. So they're going to spit out a factor of your eligibility to borrow. And if you don't have enough equity or something, you're probably highly likely unable to extend your operating note, which is what you're seeing in the earlier part of this video. But to Ryan Kelly's point, I think I'll go ahead and I'll take 120 acres over here next year. I'm going to put it I think I'll go ahead and do some tomatoes, get a whole bunch of zucchini, stuff like that. I think that 120 is just not going to be viable to grow corn and soybeans on anymore. I think we'll just go ahead and put that down to some fresh produce. And, once that produce gets going, they're going to shut them imports off. I'm only going to have one crop, so you guys are just going to really load up on things. If you want something fresh for winter, I guess we'll all starve to death. But I don't think Ryan Kelly's figured that one out yet. Since everything's just automatic diversity and the farmer got to be responsible for themselves, automatically I'll be able to sell that, no problem. I live in a county of 10,000 people, and it's a very large square mile county, so I mean, I just don't see any problem at all, completely flooding the market. Now, everybody else that has the same 120s wants to do the same things, I mean, there's thousands of those. You guys are screwed. My 120 is pretty much going to cover the market, so I'm sorry, guys. I went ahead and I took the market. The rest of y'all screwed, so I don't know what you're going to grow on here. I guess you'll have to stick with corn and soybeans and keep going broke. But that 120 should offset your corn price. Do a lot of farmers get on lawyer sites, doctor sites, other executive sites, tear them down for the amount of money they're making, tear them down for a boat? Oh, if he hadn't have bought that pickup, he wouldn't have went broke. That 12 grand a year is what did it. It did it. Agriculture industry is severely depressed. And I'm really laying on the sarcasm here, but the agriculture industry is severely depressed. And when you end up in a depressed market, you end up with a lot of jealousy. This is why you end up with the guy farming 400 acres, and he claims he's content with it, but he's the first one that just is itchy to go farm 600 acres. Well, it's because they know that you're making 25 to 50 bucks. I mean, it's not like you're, statistically, you're maybe, right now we're losing money, but statistically you're just in a low margin. So if you have a low margin, you need to have a certain amount to make an income, then you're going to do it. Just say it costs $40,000 a year to feed your family, and you got 1,000 acres that's producing $20 an acre, 20,000, and you can go pick up another 1,000 acres, but you're going to work yourself into the ground. Of course, guys are going to do it. They're going to itch to do it. And if they can't get that ground, they're going to offer more money for it. They're going to run older equipment, offset costs, control the things they can control, so they can make that just perfect amount of that 40,000 to scrape by. I mean, what I'm simply saying is, when you end up in a low margin environment, people will work very hard and have very little to do what it takes to put food on the table in their own homes, support their family. And when you're all in competition with each other, I mean, you only got so much land, so inevitably there's somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. You know, and that creates envy. You know, you get a guy who maybe has been very easily able to obtain a whole bunch of ground, and maybe he did go out and buy a boat and a new pickup and things because he actually had an income level that was beyond base necessity. It was to a level to where they were to afford things like other industries, like the attorney, like the doctor. And it makes the neighbor down the road who's farming at 300 and couldn't get any ground and had to give it up, it makes him hateful. It makes him jealous. Then when he gives it up, he gives it to an investor, and the guy snowballs the process. You know, the whole problem here, if you're not following, the whole problem here was you had inflation first, that you had to have higher income levels for yourself. And then inflation inevitably leads to your decreased buying capacity, but also has led to increased global production. And that's all been explained on this channel. Maybe I just haven't dotted the lines enough for you guys, but that's what it causes. You know, why wasn't Ryan Kelly out there during those ethanol boom era years bitching that we need to diversify? Because we were making money. Markets follow the money trail, that's why. And if we're not making money right now, we're losing money. What's more likely to happen? I mean, think of how this video started. I literally started a video with, you got guys that the banks are shutting off, and you guys are saying, okay, I just can't even plant anymore. I mean, what's likely to happen here? I mean, the bank's telling you if you're going to farm or not. I mean, are you going to, at that point, automatically go into some sort of full-scale diversity and make out like a bandit? Or make out your average wage? Or are you going to maintain your $50 an acre? I mean, what I see most likely to happen is it just gets so bad, so shitty that the thing collapses and the prices usually collapse with it. Then you go back to a balance. You go back to some sort of profitability. Yeah, it may be $50 the years prior, is it may be $20 now, because it seems like every one of these economic bubbles and things that go through, you end up just doing a little more for a little less. And that's why national worker productivity indexes are through the roof. It doesn't get any more simple than that. It's all a byproduct of inflation. It all comes off of the dollar system. So that guy that started on the comments saying, oh, inflation is expansion of money supply. No, it's not. Because you've had a lot of things like agriculture that have, maybe soybean markets, you can map it. Actually, have been long-term deflationary. And you've had major expansions of money supply. But because of those money supply expansions, you've had the deflation in soybeans. I mean, that is a thing, yes. The one did cause the other, but it didn't cause the inflation. It actually caused deflation. Now, why is the CPI going up? Well, that's a different cocktail of other things that have went up and haven't competed or have kept up with inflation increases. And you're going to diversify at a time where you have a president who's literally hell-bent, and not only hell-bent, is actually doing things to attempt to drive your market down, put downward pressure on prices, because you're trying to flood markets essentially, which will drop the price, but at the same time he's advertising deglobalization. Those will never go together. So that's why I said deglobalization, the whole America First movement, it's over. It's over. It's just the last 3 years is going to be how artificially cheap can I smash it into the ground, which if we see a repeat of the first term will do nothing more than have a severe whiplash effect later. None of this stuff I talk about is real complicated. It's just looking at the bigger picture and losing the narrow-mindedness. I don't really see row crop acres changing a lot. What I see is probably an insurge of natural gas, probably iron and other things are falling rapidly. You'll probably see some deflation across the board. corn and soybeans kind of fall into the base supply and demand fundamentals. I mean, 410 corn, 415 corn, somewhere in that area. 950 soybeans, maybe $10 soybeans, and you're gonna see. I mean, yeah, like I said, you're just gonna see. Hey, prior to the pandemic, you're making, $60 an acre. Now you're gonna make $20 an acre. So if you're only making 20, and 60 wasn't cutting it before, you know what you're gonna start to see? A lot of consolidation, like a lot of consolidation. That's what you're gonna see. Consolidation's a byproduct. The greed factor, or whatever these guys, it's just some guys have it easier than others, and the people that didn't get it are very jealous of those others. You don't see a lot of other industries where they're just, I mean, is there an attorney's page on Facebook where they're just tearing at each other, really just tearing at each other, just trying to burn down and get the other attorney down to $30 an hour? No, they really don't. They really don't. And it's not something that happens. They kind of work off of, their performance. It's just a high competition environment that we're in. So hopefully it's making some sense to you guys at this